Hi, I'm B-Town, and I make videos about games I love. The Division 2 is having a big resurgence right now. Ubisoft has dropped some new DLC called The Battle for Brooklyn, and it's awesome. The game was added to Game Pass, and I love seeing brand new players in the server. I've been grinding like crazy and absolutely re-falling in love with this game. But there's an often overlooked way to play Division 2, Hardcore mode. Every character is a pure, fresh start at level 1, no boosting here. When your character dies, they're gone forever. Totally deleted. The goal of every run is to live as long as you can, hit endgame, smash Warlords of New York, and now defeat the final boss in Brooklyn. But we're a long way from that, and this fight is going to be tough. I mean, can we even survive our first day on the job? We're gonna need an agent with grit, determination, and a relentless bloodlust. Lucky for us, the right person just touched down in DC. Allow me to introduce you to Betty Buckshot. She's our new character for this run, and in her civilian life, Betty was a long-range truck driver, devoted mother, and general badass. Her favorite movie is Aliens, for no specific reason whatsoever. Look, her grandma had a perm, her mom had a perm, and if you got a problem, you can keep it to yourself. Betty got called up to DC from the Alabama division. She's former special forces and left her contract to spend more time with her son. But he's not like a kid or anything, he's 16 and a total dirtbag, but she loves him dearly. Betty is sort of a specialist. She only uses shotguns and the occasional well-placed pistol round. So yeah, we're making hardcore a little harder by only using 2 weapon types. We'll pick up other loot, but that's just for breaking down or selling to the vendor. Betty's first day on the job started off pretty casual for a division agent. You know, just liberating the White House, no big deal. After all the bad guys were turned into hyena soup, Betty snagged a free scanner pulse from the quartermaster and slipped into something a little bit more comfortable. While walking to the theater settlement, the weight of the situation started to set in. Shotguns aren't a super common drop. This grade level starter shotty was already 2-shotting at mid-range. This run might be a bit of a struggle, but we buried our doubt and kept it pushing. Betty unlocked the theater settlement and met Odessa, who was an awesome character, but we are contractually obligated to skip the cutscene. I don't make the rules. And on to the first real test of any hardcore run, George Washington Hotel. Betty rolled in like a wrecking ball because there's no room for hesitation. Shotguns are all about aggression. This is a pretty solid mission. Every agent's played it about 1,000 times, and it's usually super easy. But on hardcore, it can be deadly in spots if you're not paying attention. Fire damage, turrets, acid, there's a lot of tight hallways where you can get hung up. There's a lot of spots that could end your run way prematurely. The shotgun wasn't ideal, but it's totally capable of doling out pain. And the pistol came in handy a few times, but I'm not trying to lean on that too hard because I know it'll just kind of become a pistol run, really trying to primary the shotgun here. The biggest challenge for this weapon set is actually large groups of enemies. So the rooftop battle against Saint was an actual joke. Just one big enemy is very easy to deal with. GG, easy, Odessa's daughter, set free. After the final turret section that wraps out this mission, we headed back to the theater settlement where Betty got her first real upgrade. A level 3 Elmer Fudd, rabbit hunting, Red Dead Redemption, retirement home self-defense double barrel shotgun. But it was during this transaction that a potentially catastrophic mistake was made. Betty resold the starting 870 to the vendor for some extra cash. That left only the double dork duck hunting shotgun as a primary. This thing is powerful, but it is really freaking slow. You end up accidentally canceling the reload half the time, so you better not miss. And our next mission, Jefferson Trade Center, is going to be way harder than expected using this thing. Outside of the mission, Betty met a furry new friend that had a death wish because it ran straight inside to the enemies. Betty bravely ran in to try to save the dog, but it was too late. She was met by a group of bad guys, and it was immediately obvious that the double barrel was a terrible choice. On the fly, it was time for a strategy adjustment. It's time to pick off enemies and maintain solid cover because despite the mediocre weapon choice, Betty is just too damn mean to die. Pushing into the heart of the enemy stronghold, Betty showed them a glimpse of the aggression and viciousness that got her kicked out of the PTA. Isaac was rebooted, a Chungus was ventilated in the food court, quick dance break, and then Coyote died to her own RCXD. Worst kill streak in Call of Duty, by the way. I can't believe she runs that over the UAV. Back at the White House, Betty finally got her hands on the most important piece of equipment for a hardcore run. If she downs, she'll be able to get back up. It's not perfect. Going down 2 times in quick succession is still game over. And the hive bugs out about half the time, but it's a welcome insurance policy. Betty was still pretty short on XP and had a lot to prove, so it was off to the Empire Autumn Hotel to clap some bad guy cheeks. There was a couple close calls, but nothing she couldn't handle. It was around that time that Betty found out the theater settlement needed some help freeing hostages being held in the library. So of course, being the hero that she is, she signed up for the job. The big problem here is that the double barrel damage was falling off dramatically. The enemies were ranking up with us, so our damage was looking totally pathetic. And the library is a particularly difficult space for shotguns. Wide open, long lines of sight, there's snipers everywhere. The tactic here was to carefully abuse cover and only take engagements we can win. Way easier said than done because you can be hit from any angle here. But Betty's a ferocious fighter. One grenadier got so scared at the sight of Betty that he decided it was just easier to drop a frag at his own feet. Funny. That's the exact same thing her ex-husband did. This was definitely a more grindy mission, but about halfway through, Lady Luck decided to give us a little present. The SASG-12. I have never been more happy to see a gray weapon in my life. This is exactly what this run needed. Semi-auto, big spread, nice damage. With this brand new shotty, the rest of the mission was actually a breeze. Quickly freed the hostages and then taught Pebbles a valuable lesson. Drugs are bad for your health, but buckshot is way worse. It was great to end this mission rather quickly because Pebbles can actually be pretty dangerous. His Molotov cocktails are deceptively deadly. So the vibes were high. Betty was feeling great. She even took a minute to post a TikTok to make the girls back home jealous. Then it got 0 likes, which totally pissed her off, and she took her anger out on a really unlucky group of enemies at the Bureau headquarters. They were guarding a shade cache that belonged to Betty, and she came to collect her property. And then lightning struck twice. Another big upgrade dropped in back-to-back missions. First, green weapon of the run, and it's a Super 90. Pure gas, love to see it. The double barrel was officially retired from this run. Now we're rocking a semi-auto shoddy combo, and it's so strong. We obliterated the final wave of this mission and totally shredded the boss. Huge accomplishments on this hardcore run so far. From 0 to hero, starting to put together an actual cohesive run with complementary weapons and a couple talents on our gear that aren't half bad. First day on the job, and Betty's already making DC a better place. She didn't just survive, she thrived. After a long day of heroism, Betty ended her shift back at the White House, where she failed to make a new friend. Totally fine, being a division agent can be a lonely job. But Betty Buckshot was ending this session an absolute champion. And alive, which is like the most important part of any hardcore run. So let's step back and reflect a little bit. What did I learn playing Division 2 hardcore in 2025? Long live Betty, I love the character. She was really fun. But beyond that, playing this mode gave me a fresh appreciation for the Division 2. I love this game in general, but the tension of hardcore adds a lot to the experience. It's certainly not balanced. There's a ton of BS that'll kill you ultra fast, like random fire damage or things like that, but that's part of why it's so great. Diablo 4, that's another game full of garbage, but hardcore is a super fun way to play it. Division 2 shares that same quality. If you're brand new to the franchise, like you just picked it up on Game Pass or you're just starting a new run, I would encourage you to beat the campaign normally and then give hardcore a shot. But if you're a veteran agent, this is an awesome way to re-experience content and test your skills. But that's it, ladies and gentlemen. We've reached the end of this chapter. Thank you so much for being here today. If you enjoyed, drop a comment and let me know. Hope you have an awesome day, and we'll talk again really, really, really soon.